People become afraid and they become, they get stuck in comfort zones of feeling like, yeah, but I know this is my dream. But then when your dream stops feeling like a calling, that means God is not in it anymore.
Ring offers a wide range of easy-to-install smart home security devices, including security cameras, video doorbells, and alarms. These are monitored on your phone via the Ring app. Ring will be running a massive Black Friday special from the 15th of November to the 2nd of December, where you can save up to 50% on selected Ring devices. For more information on these deals, visit Takealot, Incredible Connections, and Hirsch's. Available while stocks last. Ring, keeping people close to what's important.
The duo you didn't know that you needed. How did we get here series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did we get here?
There's no way.
What are we doing here?
Hi guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Are you guys good? Mm-hmm. How's the music going?
It's going good. It's fun.
Okay, let's start with Afilmations. Boity, I'll start with you.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean for you to start your day in a hopeful way, hopeful mindset? Are the small moments in your morning that helps you set the tone?
Yeah, I think prayer gets the day going really well. Starting the day with prayer, but also just gratitude, and that's a real thing. I know it sounds very blasé because people will be like, yeah, we're always grateful, but that's a real thing. Like really taking in a deep breath and being like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like actually, like really thank you, and think about all of those small little things. Like even if it's the cliches, like roof over my head, woke up in a bed. I have far more than, you know, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So don't let the other things be bigger than the things that are actually the biggest.
I believe in that. Gratitude.
It's a real thing.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy Roiii Pirara, and you're now watching an episode of How Did We Get Here? Wise words for the kids. I'm thinking that in life, if you want to be a rapper, think about it twice, okay? I got you. My first question to you, why did you write the book, man? Like, I think that's my biggest question. Why did you write the book? What pushed you to write in this book?
Pushed me, God said I should. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Because I've been approached about quite a few times, 4 years ago, and I tried to start it, and then I put it down. I was ready, and then last year I got confirmation, like this is what God needed me to do, and then I wrote the book. Literally, that's
just punched in.
Just punched in. Well, not just punched in. It simplifies
the whole
bit,
book,
but
I just punched in.
I built structure around it. So, and I think I've shared it quite a few times. I had a slot every morning, 5 to 6 a.m., where I go into my office, close the door, and I just write. But I had prompting questions. Like you see how I did the reflections? I kind of used that to write the book. But the impact I wanted to make was give people the permission to heal.
Give people the permission
to heal.
To heal, yeah.
What does that mean?
I think people don't know that you can actually thrive. My mentor actually said she realized that she didn't know what it looked like to live a life where she's thriving. All she's ever known is survival. And a lot of people are like that. A lot of people are like that, where we don't get the chance to deal with stuff. It almost feels like, how dare you?
We're on autopilot most of the time without even realizing it.
Exactly.
Do you feel like now you exposing your brokenness, it makes you am I looking for the right word? Susceptible. You see? That word. Do you feel like you open yourself up to people criticizing you, or making, you expose your brokenness, and now it becomes a conversation for people to be a part of? Don't you feel like that's a part of your life that you want to shy away from people?
I own it now. You can't tell me anything about my bad traits. Toxic. I know it. Say to me, Mpoomy, 1, 2, 3. I'm like, I agree with you. You're right. I'm trying to do better. Whereas when you live when shame thrives in secrecy. Yeah. So when things are a secret and you don't want to talk about it, you want to hide it, then shame thrives. So when someone says something, it's like, that's when we are reactive, because you haven't dealt with it. But if you tell me something I've dealt with and I've openly expressed, you can never ever use it against you.
Yeah.
I feel like that takes confidence.
Yeah.
That takes...
It takes work, though.
Okay, speaking about being susceptible to things, humans, etc. One of the chapters in your book, you spoke about obviously trolls and the internet, which is something I think we all are familiar with. Some people more on the other side than the others, and by that I mean some people are more on the attacking side than they are on the receiving end of the attacks. But obviously, you've been on the receiving end. How do you go about dealing with those? I know it's such a cliche question, but I think it's important because that's what's thriving right now on social media. People being legitimately mean is a superb understatement. People being vicious, vile, and acting like they own the abyss. So how did you maneuver through that to the point of being able to kind of obviously openly write about it?
I don't deal. I didn't deal. In fact, I deactivated my Twitter. I'm serious. I'm a feeler. I'm a deep feeler. And for the work that I do, it's important that I remain sensitive and soft. And so I found myself having to build walls. Like, okay, I'm going to be tough. I'm going to be hard. It doesn't matter. And that didn't work for me because
it's not you.
It's not me. I'm soft. I'm kind. I feel and I hurt deeply. And I'm a vulnerable person. I'm open. So the measure in which I get hurt is extreme because the measure in which I open myself is also extreme. So I can't handle Twitter. So I deactivated my account, and it was a lot of followers and it was money, but it was like money or peace. And I chose my peace. And then going forth, I don't deal well with it. I cry, I vent to my husband. And I think that's why I wrote that chapter, because I was like, do I write it because that's giving them power?
No.
But I was like, I think in a book it's a better place to write about it than to respond online, because online you're fueling.
Online it's also going to get misconstrued. And your words are just going to be moved, shape-shifted, etc. Whereas with the book, it's like it's there. You saw it, you read it yourself. You can't ask me.
But don't you ever feel the need to then, I guess, respond sometimes? Like sometimes you just want to, and it's not for correcting people. It's just a matter of fact of representing yourself. And I think that's where my question lies. It's like, don't you ever feel this need to just correct things? Like, when something wrong is being said about you, how do you get this resolve to just say, I'm not saying anything?
No, because I can't change my mind, and not everyone's gonna like me. I don't like everyone. Not everyone's gonna like me, and I'm not gonna spend my energy trying to convince them. And like I said, in a book, I can write about that, because I think reading and social media is just two different worlds. And in the book, the aim was not necessarily to expose anyone, but it was to say, hey, if you are one of those people who just responds because you think the people you are being mean to don't see it, I just want to let you know that they do see it.
Maybe it makes you feel better.
Hurt people.
Hurt people. Absolutely.
And if you only saying those things because you're hurt, and I don't want to I don't want to continue the cycle of hurt, and so that's why I remove myself. Do I want to respond sometimes? Absolutely. But my people know me.
And that's all that matters, right?
That's a great way to put it. My people know me.
My people know me. You know me.
I do know you, but I've also seen.
Why would you want to prove yourself to strangers? Because essentially that's who they are.
It's not even proving yourself to strangers,
It's validating you.
Sometimes you see people say things and they're just so incorrect, and it's just.
And you want to prove the fact that they're incorrect.
It's not based in proving that they're incorrect. It's just correcting the narrative, right? It's just setting my story. And at least my part is out there, or at least people know where I stand about this. I'd rather have a moment where I'm saying this is where the line got bent a little bit, and this is how people took a left. And
you know what the problem is? It never ends.
As I close off this chapter, don't you think it's harder for women? They're harder on us than they are on us.
Without a flicker of doubt.
Okay.
There we go.
Without a flicker of doubt.
Wait, I'm trying to understand what you mean.
Women are hard on women.
And it makes it even easier for men to be harder on women as well. So
and men don't troll
it's all just like a no.
Like does it not sometimes feel like men can brush it off? Like sometimes those little comments that don't look like they mean much, or look like a man can just move past, that's sometimes what hurts, guys. That's sometimes
fair enough.
Like it's always,
so let me not speak for men then, but let me say women to women, we have it harder, and the things in which we get dragged and attacked
and
cancelled, etc., are very much deeply rooted in some form of misogyny and in supporting that, and the ideas of what society deems a woman should be, very old school types of thinking, and we're always forced to just stick by very strange rules that don't make any sense to our lives anymore. And it's just strange, because you almost want to ask, like, what is it that you want? Do you want liberated women? Do you want women who actually work hard? Do you want women who think for themselves, what do you want? What do you want? You know, like,
I mean, like
that scene in The Notebook. What do you want? What do you want?
There's a part in the book where you speak about where you're traveling with your dad and he points at Campus Square and he says,
One day you're going to work
one day you're going to work there if you don't
If
do
you don't
yeah. How does it feel to not have done that per se, but like now looking back and saying that I didn't do that, but I still didn't end up there? What's your perspective on that? How do you feel about that?
Sure. It was a big fear. And I think because you're so young and we drive past and my dad says, well, if ungapass uzosebenza la, you know, and I get what he meant. He just meant like you won't have the dream job that you want to have. And so I always had that at the back of my mind, that when my parents dropped me off at school, they expected me to become something. And then when I don't become something, luckily for me, about 2 months later, I get to be on the billboard at Campus Square. So that kind of suits.
I was still in Campus Square, but in a different way.
But in a different way.
In a different way. But still, I had failed them. And so for my whole life, I think most of my 20s, I became an overachiever. And I mentioned sometimes to my own detriment, where I'm trying to prove the whole time that I'm not a failure. I didn't quit because I'm stupid. I didn't quit because I was lazy. I genuinely felt that's not God's plan or God's dream for me. And so it was really, really hard, especially in the beginning.
It was reassuring as well, like when you wrote that, also you being a dropout, but the reasons that you had and how you put it, it really gave me confidence in that, saying I'm not a failure. And you know what I mean, it's not because I was lazy, it's because I had a plan, and I might not have understood the plan at the time, but I feel like now looking back, dropping out and saying that Mpoomy can do it, not necessarily I can do it, but in the perspective that if she did it and she felt like she had a plan, my plan should be just as enough for me to do the same thing, or I had reason enough to do the same thing. It gave me confidence to read that.
I'm glad. And I think ultimately, it made sense for our parents to make, I believe in education, and I believe in education. Education is very important. However, our parents put education on a pedestal, like it's the one in the life. Yes, and understandably so for their generation. So you understand that, but also it's important as a child respectfully to walk your own journey and path. But once you give up the right, once you say, I'm taking my path, you don't get to be entitled to your parents. And that's what I understood. So when I dropped out, I got jobs and I took care of myself. The problem is you drop out, you say you're an adult, and then you want to be a dependent.
I feel like I went through a phase of that as well.
Then that's not fair to your parents.
Like, I went through a phase.
If you make your own rules, then continue to do that either way.
But it's not even like that. It's like sometimes, like, you know you don't want to do something, and you know you don't have the capacity to do it. And it's like telling your parents, I don't want to do this. Do I then lose my mom? The mom I know that mom,
get a job.
I'm running out here. But that's the thing. Like at that time, it wasn't even about getting a job. I just needed more support in doing something that I've never done before. Like, it's my first time dropping out. I feel like a statistic right now. I'm not doing something that makes sense, and I'm still mom's boy. I need mom, you know what I mean? And it felt like,
fair enough.
From my perspective, it's not even demanding like some kind of, I'm gonna drop out and you take care of me while I figure myself out. It's right now I'm homeless, right now I'm unemployed, right now I think I have a direction and I can't put it in words for you to understand, but I need my mom.
I think that's more like a conversation that is also important to have with parents, more so Black parents, I guess, to a certain extent, because of, again, their own traumas and what they've had to go through and the things that they've had to go through to get us to a point in which they feel would be safest and they'd get a buck for their money or money for their buck or whatever that saying is. You know, where they're like, all that hard work was not for nothing.
That's not for nothing. We did that,
what I used to, you know? So I understand, but I think it is definitely an important conversation to have with our parents and our generation of parents, and to teach the newer, which I think actually it's already happening, where the newer generation is incredibly not lenient, but more understanding, more open, more. But I do think it's by virtue of having had those parents that we were able to transform to be the parents that we are right now. So they played their role in some way or another, because you can only imagine the kind of transformations that they had to go through from their parents as well, for them to make certain decisions that would allow us to kind of feel the sense of freedom to become the parents that we are right now, or like the generation of parents that we have right now and the people we are. So shout out to our parents anyway.
You guys are doing
You guys are great.
I'm alive.
I wanted to ask about the chapter about being chosen, because I resonated with most of your chapters, like the trolls, the idea of being chosen and being able to say it without anyone making you sound like you're saying it from a pompous position, which is also very annoying when you speak about, I am chosen, God chose me, He wanted me. And it should be that way. It's something that should be said with pride. But people who don't understand it will definitely try and see it from a very egotistical point of view. And it's like, we're talking about God, though.
That's not what we mean.
Yeah.
I think life happens to all of us, and it gets harder and harder to live in God's dream for you.
Yeah.
And I think when you don't live in God's dream for you, become resentful and bitter. And then there's people who build the resilience to live in God's dream, because I think that's what it requires.
It does.
To live in God's chosen dream, you have to be resilient. And so when I said that, I think it was a summary of a whole lot of things where I've constantly questioned my voice. I've constantly questioned, do I have something to say? Yeah, do I have something to say? I've constantly questioned, am I the one? I've constantly questioned. And when people tell you that you're not doing it right, we have to be honest in that people's voices do matter. I know we like to say, it doesn't matter, don't listen to them, but it does matter. And I've constantly had to remind myself, specifically that one morning when I was about to do a podcast and I was planning Face, and a lot.
I remember that season.
It was just such a hard time where I started questioning me because of other people questioning me, and I had to remind myself of God's word that, hey, you did not choose yourself. I chose you, and that gave me the confidence to know that the one who chose me will sustain me.
I love that part of the one who chose you will sustain you, because for me, it also resonates with something that it's become like my mantra in the past, I think 5 years, where it was more linked to not necessarily what people say about your chosen path, but also how you treat your chosen path. So I actually had this conversation with a group of friends, the friends that people think I don't have. With a group of friends, the friends you actually have.
The real friends.
And then we were actually having a conversation, and I actually brought this up randomly, and I don't know, it felt like it was a word I had to share with whoever was sitting there, and maybe they needed to hear it, because afterwards, I think a few of them were just like, why did you say that? I was like, I have no idea. I just said it. But to sum it up, it also became my mantra of the idea of staying in spaces where initially you feel like that was what you were called for, and then you start feeling drained and you go on autopilot in spaces that were initially where your calling was. And it was me just being like, I think a lot of the times also, the reason why it links to the one who gave it to you will sustain it, or the one who chose you will sustain it. It's people become afraid, and they become they get stuck in comfort zones of feeling like, but I know this is my dream. But then when your dream stops feeling like a calling, that means God is not in it anymore.
God's asking you to move up.
Absolutely, because then people then start asking, because I remember a friend of mine even asked, she was like, okay, if you're saying that I should quit this, I'm not saying, I was like, I didn't say quit, but I'm saying if it doesn't feel like God is not in it anymore, that means He's not. That means it's time for you to move on. But then it was like, okay, but I've been here this whole time. What if I leave and then nothing else happens? It goes back to that word. The one who gave it to you will sustain you. So if you believe that He gave it to you to begin with, why would you doubt the fact that He will give you the next thing where He is present all over again? You know, so it was just like reminding people that you don't have to stay in something just because you think it's the be all and end all.
This reflection is actually from Chosen, the chapter Chosen. Boity, I'll start with you. What did you dream of being when you were a child?
I dreamed of being a fashion designer. So I used to draw a lot. I dreamed of being a painter. I also dreamt of being on television. It actually,
that happened.
One of the things took place.
Yeah.
And I also dreamt of being, which is weird because I didn't know how to sing, but for some reason I used to resonate with the idea of being a singer of some sort.
Okay.
Which also kind of
It came through.
Something happened.
Yeah, that did happen.
My last reflection question for you: when you told people what you wanted to be, specifically your family, your grandparents, your mother, your friends, how did they react or how did they respond?
Their reaction was obviously because I'd always been that child. They'd always seen my fascination with television, my fascination with, performing and being, etc. So it was never a surprise. I want to thank my grandparents because, in all honesty, the kind of sacrifices, even mentally, that they had to make, and the kind of shifts that they had to make in order to allow me to be the child I grew up being, and to allow me the space and the certainty to believe that I could be who I am right now, is just phenomenal, because they came from such a superbly different background, but for the fact that they loved me so much that they shifted their entire mindset to allow me to believe that I could be whatever it is, TV, wow, you know how much they had to shift and believe in such a different world to what they're used to. So I've always just been so grateful that they allowed me the space to feel like I'm trustworthy enough to take any route that I want.
Roy, what does your inner voice sound like? Is it kind, encouraging, or is it a mean voice?
I'm gonna be honest, I think it's a 90% a mean voice.
Mean?
Yeah, I'm very mean to myself. I know I'm friendly with everybody else, but in my head, I'm hard on yourself. Yeah, I'm really hard on myself.
Hard on yourself, yeah.
No, but mean as well. There's no sugarcoating in my head. There's no, namhlanje uzamile. It's a fail or you won.
Yeah.
I think the inner, and it's not a negative thing. I've never seen it as a negative thing. It's that part of me that wants to live in a structure, that wants to live in call a spade, a black and white. It's a day and night kind of difference. And that's the voice that speaks to me. That's the voice I hear. It's almost like my voice is my dad's voice. I'm not saying that's how he sounded, but he was a very stark, it's you're in or you're out, and I think that's also what gives me balance and direction in doing what I do.
Okay, then I'm going to read this last reflection to you, because my inner voice was like that, and I think death, loss, grief, you realize that there's nuances to growth. When you get older, when you turn 30, you kind of realize that it's not black and white.
You'll get there.
But I appreciated the voice that I had when I had it, because I think I needed it.
It's necessary.
It's necessary.
Ebb and flow.
But this is my message to you from this reflection in closing. From now on, speak to yourself as you'd speak to the person you love most in the world. Yes, fam, that's you. You need to love yourself before you can love anyone else.
Okay.
And the church said,
Amen.
And with that, we're going to cheers to you guys' brand new album, The Extra Mile, which is out right now.
It's out, The Extra Mile.
The Extra Mile.
Cheers.
It's a wrap.